Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again from Film Fanatic headquarters. So hope everyone's doing good. It is Monday at about or Monday. It is Thursday at about 11:36. Pretty gray. Supposed to get a lot of some rain here. We've had some the weather the last couple weeks has just been spectacular here in Mid Coast. A couple weeks shy of the actual start of the summer season. And so, yeah, it's been great. I've been doing videos, I've been watching, had a couple of big hauls. Went to Opera House Video, they had their giant sale. They do it about twice a year. Opera House Video, of course, the only mom and pop place or video rental place in Maine, as far as I know. It's the only place you can go and actually rent DVDs, Blu rays, TV shows, what have you, and actually buy movies. And I think it's pretty much at this point the only place that you can do that in Maine, which is amazing, which is crazy. So I go there. I don't go there as much as I used to, only because it was funny. I was in there a couple weeks ago before the sale, and I'm pretty good friends with Dennis Howard, the owner. I've known him for many years, and I had said to him, it's like why I don't go as much. I used to go every week. I would go. I had a regular routine for a very long time where I would go there every weekend to rent movies. Typically I'd go there every Friday or Saturday, and I'd rent a pile of movies for the weekend. And at that time too, they used to be open on Sundays. So a lot of times I would go in back a few years back a few years ago. They used to be open Sundays, and there were times when I would go in on a Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon and just rent a ton of movies and just veg out. But they don't really, their schedule's a little bit different. But spend I spend a lot more time or and a lot more of my money collecting movies now. So I buy tons of movies. I buy a lot more movies than I did back then. So what ends up happening is I have you know sometimes stacks of movies that I'm trying to watch or that I'm trying to get through. So what ends up happening is I there isn't really a need for me to go and to really rent movies. So that's what ends up happening. But I still go there more. It's pretty broken up when I do. It's maybe a couple times a month or so. And I usually go there to buy or to rent like newer releases for films. But it's been pretty dry. It's been a pretty weird last few years, I think, to be honest, as far as my enthusiasm for a lot of new movies has definitely waned quite a bit. Um, and that kind of leads me into what today's show is. This is a little bit of a spin off show or a side show from what I normally do. I try to always bring variety to the channel. But today I want to talk about movies that are coming out, movies that are out right now, and my anticipation to see certain movies and movies that I just haven't gotten a chance to see and those kinds of things. It is summertime, and so typically, for Hollywood, that's like the big release time. All the big blockbusters come out. I don't really stay up on those kinds of films like I used to. I was, always in the past, always staying up on a lot of those films. And to be honest, I've been kind of disappointed with quite a few films that have come out as far as the bigger Hollywood films. So mostly, I mean, it's mostly, I attribute it to the the superhero genre, the superhero movies. I'm a big fan of the Marvel universe, but I have definitely reached a point of big fatigue. There isn't as many, which is surprising. There's this kind of weird lull right now of Hollywood superhero movies, Marvel movies in particular. It's funny and it's kind of refreshing. Lately, I haven't heard about, and I definitely haven't seen any. The last Marvel movie I saw in the theater was she's a long time ago now. Was the It was the last Ant-Man movie, Quantumania, which was terrible, awful, super disappointing. That was kind of the nail in the coffin for me. That was the last Marvel movie I saw in the theater, and then one of the last movies that I saw at home was Guardians of the Galaxy, the final one in that franchise, which I really love. And again, I was really let down with that movie, and I just really felt, in a lot of ways, all of the things that really made some of those films so successful fell flat. Huge James Gunn fan as a director, but I I've just really been fatigued with that, and I feel like one of the things that I miss about James Gunn, again, an amazing director. Of course, Guardians of the Galaxy movies are his biggest films, but he's made so many other cool movies like Slither, The Super, and I miss those days of where he could just direct his own movies and not have it be tied to some kind of you know uh, corporate entity or some franchise like he is now. And now he's like basically running the DC universe, and there hasn't been any movies really that I know of that have come out since he has been under control of that. So there is a new Superman. There's going to be a whole slew of movies, and then he switched transition from Marvel to DC, and he did the newer Suicide Squad movie that came out a few years back, which was actually really awesome. That movie died in the box office. But basically, he has been wrapped up and a part of the comic book universe now for a very long time. And since then, he has not broken away and directed his own movies. And I miss that. And I think it really sucks. I think it's sad that's the case. And it's a weird time. It's like directors who I really love are tied to these franchises that can't really get out of that, or you won't see anything outside of that particular universe. Another director that I really, really love, who now is doing things really only exclusively for streaming projects, is David Fincher. I'm in the process, we're pretty much done finishing up watching his series Mindhunter, which he did a few years back for Netflix, which I'm going to do a big show on that very soon. Extraordinary show, amazing, classic David Fincher. But he has pretty much he's done a handful of other films, including this series, that are only streaming. You can't see any of these works in the theater. They're basically exclusively for these streaming platforms. And I was thinking, and David Fincher is one of my favorite directors, and I was thinking the last movie I saw of his was Gone Girl, which came out like almost 10 years ago. And that's an amazing movie. But I miss those days of where you could like see any of his films in a fucking theater. Like it's crazy because he is such a visual director. And so now you only can see his work in a streaming platform, and it's like super disappointing. I love Mindhunter. It's an incredible show, and I'm going to be doing a big show, a Film Fanatic show, where I'm going to talk about that. But I feel like I would love to have a chance to see it on Blu-ray. Um, and he has, aside from Mindhunter, I believe there's two other films that he has directed, which I haven't seen. I've heard mostly mixed things, but also some very good things. There's a movie I think it's called The Killer, Michael Fassbender, where it's about this assassin played by Michael Fassbender. I've heard it's a very good movie, but I've also heard mixed things about it, but it's only available streaming. And there was another film he did also that was only available streaming, as far as I know, which I heard was not very good. But I just think it sucks that you don't have the option to go to the theater to see any of his movies anymore because he is like a visual director. So, those are two directors that, they have gone on in a lot of ways to become even more successful, but they're kind of shackled to these new ways of creating movies, and or they're in James Gunn's you know um, situation. He's shackled to a more or less a corporate entity. So it's kind of disappointing. And as far as other movies that I really really want to see, the movie I'm most anticipating is Fede Alvarez's new Alien movie, Romulus. They released a couple months ago, the teaser trailer came out, and I was blown away by it. I thought it looked extraordinary. And then about 2 days ago or 3 days ago, they released the actual full trailer, and I was just like, holy shit! Like, this looks amazing. It's coming out in August. There's so many movies coming out, but that is easily the movie that I really really want to see. And it's very strange too. And I don't know if it's a reflection of kind of this weird AI that we're experiencing with with this new emerging technology of trying to find. It seems to be harder to find legitimate or truthful comments or content. And it's a weird phenomenon, like because Fede Alvarez, of course, is a fantastic director. He he directed the Evil Dead remake, which came out quite a few years ago, which is just an extraordinary movie. I'm sure everybody out there has seen that movie, but that movie is just balls to the wall amazing. Of course, Sam Raimi created the Evil Dead franchise in the original film, which is, one of the most iconic horror movies, one of the most, one of the most influential movies, one of the greatest movies of all time. But I thought what Fede Alvarez did with that movie was just incredible. It is so different from the original, um, and but yet it pays homage to the classic um, movie created by Sam Raimi. That to the unit pays homage, tips his hat fully to the creation of that universe. Um, but I don't know. It's hard to say, but I almost feel in some ways it's almost a better movie. As much as I think, as iconic and as much as I love that movie, Fede Alvarez did something so unique and different. I almost like that. I almost like the remake better in some ways. It's crazy to say that, but that does not at all diminish the importance and the significance of what Sam Raimi did with that movie or those movies, that franchise. And then he also directed Don't Breathe, which is another movie which is just an extraordinary movie. Just, that came out quite a few years ago, probably about 7 years ago, and extraordinary. I saw that in the theater. And I was blown away by that movie. That movie really reminded me a lot of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre in a lot of ways, as far as the suspense element. But extraordinary movie, pretty fucked up movie. Fede Alvarez has this thing too with a lot of his films of where he'll go to some fucked up places, and he's not afraid to like push the envelope. A lot of his films, yeah, his films, he has a pretty big budget to a lot of his films. Obviously, he's kind of you know very well respected in Hollywood, but he has a certain grittiness. I mean, the Evil Dead remake and Don't Breathe, they're both like they have a big production value, but they're so kind of raw, low down, and nasty, which is unique for people who kind of work with that kind of budget, and so he has this real gritty, dirty thing about his movies. And and I also feel like he's very creative. He likes to take risks, and he's super original. You know, he can take anything really, I think, and make it, whether it's like an established property or something, or unique, or something from his mind, from that is purely out of his imagination, and make it his own. And I feel like he can really do that. He's one of the unique voices. So I'm really anticipating to see what he'll do with Romulus. So we'll see. But it's interesting and weird because the trailer, the teaser trailer, a lot of people were commenting and saying how just incredible it looks and just like how wild it looks. And now that the full length trailer came out, if you look at the comments, and it is what it is, but you look at the comments underneath it, there's all of this negative stuff. It's very strange, like to the point of where it's like, what's going on here? Other movies that I've been wanting to see, which I'm hoping to see, is the new George Miller Furioso, the new latest installment in the Mad Max film. And that movie has been like utterly trashed in every way possible. I've seen so many negative things about that movie. Overall, I've heard good things, but compared to when Fury Road came out, this movie has been trashed so much by so many critics. Um, but again, it's hard to decipher. Is it this weird kind of AI thing, or is it actual people saying these things? And constantly, I just hear on how this movie has bombed, and it set the record for. It came out Memorial Day weekend, and it set this record as the worst opening ever in history on a holiday weekend. Just this continuous thing. But I haven't had a chance to see it, but I really, really want to see it. Robert Edgar's Nosferatu is another movie that I really want to see, but that's not coming out till Christmas time, which is very weird. But I think it's actually kind of a cool thing that it's coming out around that time. Robert Edgar's, of course, amazing. The Lighthouse, The Witch, The Northman, all just incredible, incredible films. So very much looking forward to what he will do with this, iconic character. And Nosferatu is a movie that he has talked about. A movie that this was a movie he's been wanting to make for basically his whole life. He started out as a film as a stage director, and one of the big shows, one of the big plays that he had a theater version of Nosferatu that he had directed, and supposedly I remember reading that was where he kind of got discovered because he came from a little bit more of a theater background, and that was one of his first productions, and from there he became a film director. So I'm very much anticipating to see that, but definitely Romulus, Alien Romulus, Nosferatu, which is not coming out for a while, but um, yeah, but I honestly I can't think of other movies. The newer, the most recent Planet of the Apes movie, I do want to see, but I just haven't gotten around to see it yet in the theater. I've heard some mixed things about it. I do want to see it, but in a nutshell, I can't think of other movies that I'm like chomping at the bit to see. It's very weird. And I don't think it's like a case of where, I mean, sure, I'm a little bit out of the loop in some ways, but I don't think it really is that. I think I still, I still hear about movies all the time, newer things that are coming out, or future, movies that are future planned releases. Oh, I have to say, now that I'm thinking of it, the movie I need to really mention is the other movie that I'm really, really anticipating is Ty West's Maxine, which is the third movie in the X trilogy. X, and then Pearl, and then Maxine with Mia Goth, directed by Ty West, which I think is both the first two movies are just incredible, incredible movies. Classic American slasher movies, amazing. And Mia Goth is just spectacular in both of the movies, playing multiple roles. Maxine, which is a third installment, is coming out this summer. I think it's coming out in July, and I cannot wait to see that. I'm super excited. So, but those are the movies that I am very much looking forward to. I'm going to try to go see, trying to make plans to see Furioso next week. I have to see that movie. So, of course, if I get to see it, I will definitely do a review on it. So, yeah. So this was just a quick little video on things that I'm really looking forward to seeing this year. And for what it's worth, just kind of my opinion on the kind of the unusual circumstances of films right now. So thanks again, and we will see you next time. Peace.